Well, Damon, this is not a Victory Tuesday, but what can we learn from Melancholy Monday?
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by the fine folks over at Circle K, our friends over at Circle K. I am your host, Damon Fairall. That's my guy, Kevin Thomas, my co-host, aka Kevo Post. I'm always, or otherwise known as Damon Dog. Also always, it feels like Kevin, but that's a story for another day. We are the AZ Wildcats podcast. We are sponsored by our presenting sponsor of Branded Bills. Head on over to brandedbills.com. Use promo code BBPHNX and get 15% off your first order. Check out the campus collection. Check out the custom collection that you can get your small business locked and loaded with the best apparel and brandwear that they have to offer over at Branded Bills. Got a PHNX Sports lid on right now, custom collection apparel. But Kevin, Arizona, number one team in the country, sustains the first loss of the season last night. And of course, that was at the hands of number 9, top 10 Kansas. Bill Self on, of course, Bill Self being, undefeated on Big Mondays. And the Wildcats do not put something into that armor, if you will, Kevin, because it's undefeated still for Bill Self in Kansas here on Big Mondays. And now we have ourselves a significant battle here at the top of the Big 12 Conference.
Yeah, you definitely do. I still think Arizona is kind of the bell cow of this conference, kind of the belle of the ball, so to speak. Are bell cow and bell of the ball related? Is having a cow...
Let's do some research into that.
Because isn't bell cow like your premier cow, so you put a bell on it so you can't lose it? Either way, as Damon does some folklore research for us here, it feels like Arizona is still the premier team in this conference, right? Losing on the road in Fog Allen does not really take your chain of being the number one Big 12 team. Do we have an update on some literacy here?
Your bell cow is like kind of the leader of the pack. It's like you have a bell cow running back if that's the dude that you're using to drive your way to victory. The bell of the ball is someone that is
like the most beautiful girl at the party,
the premier on the person on the hierarchy at like a social event.
Yeah, it's like the prettiest girl at the party. In
Correct.
a way, right? Okay, got you. Well, Arizona, I still think is both of those things in the Big 12. I still think they're your leading team in this conference, and I still think they're the prettiest girl at the party in terms of these other teams. We're going to get to that in a little bit with our Big 12 tier rankings in a bit. But yeah, Damon, I think last night, albeit disappointing result, never want to see a team lose that you support, but if you are going to lose on the road at Fog Allen against Big Monday Bill Self, as much as I hate to say it, is the way it's going to get chalked up. And also when you have performances that, you were going up against, hey, if Melvin Council and company are going to play like that, so be it. But Arizona on their end had a lot they could clean up. Credit to KU, credit to Kansas for playing as well as they did. But I think as we're going to discuss today, there's a lot that Arizona can learn from in defeat here for the first time this season. Usually we're talking about, they got some valuable lessons learned, but at least they didn't get, their hand burnt on the stove. They put it on the stove, realized it was hot. It was quick enough to where you removed it, looked at your hand and said, I'm all good. Last night, they left their hand on the stove a little bit too long, and you looked up and, you're going to the hospital. So that is kind of my feeling on it, Damon. How are you feeling a little bit less than 24 hours removed?
As we've kind of outlined, Kevin, and I think, we did this off air last night after the podcast was over, as Kevin and I do our group therapy sessions, post Arizona basketball games every single night. But that being said, I'm sitting there and I'm saying, if you were going to draw up a way a loss looked, wouldn't it look kind of exactly like that? Top 10 team on the road, toughest place to play in the country, a coach that is, by all accounts, the most accomplished coach that is currently in the sport of college basketball, and, had a kind of an unbeatable record at play in that situation as well. And you lose by 4 points to a team when 2 of your 3 best players, as Sam Alberts puts in the chat, have their worst games of the season. Jaden Bradley, Koa Peat have 2 of, if not their worst games of the season. And I feel like it's hard to expect both of those things to happen at the same time. Whereas right now, I mean, that they did happen at the same time. It was almost just a calamity of errors, it felt like, that kind of went into play, whether it was Bryson Tiller hitting every 3 he took in the first half, keeping Kansas kind of afloat when it felt like Arizona was a very well-oiled machine, just getting a consistent kind of flurry of points. And Kansas was getting points that were happening in bunches of, like, we went on a 7-0 run and Arizona has to call timeout all of a sudden. McDowell, getting the start in place of Darryn Peterson and scoring double digits and providing a lot on the rebounding end as well. I just felt like it was just such a culmination of everything that could possibly go wrong for Arizona went wrong, and you still lose by 4 to one of the best teams in the country. It's hard to be that pressed about it at the end of the day,
Yeah, no, totally. I'm not really that upset that we did lose. And wow, I will say, maybe this is a weird observation, but does Clay MCD22 not look a little bit like Eric Ruby in that photo, like a young Eric Ruby in that photo? Maybe I'm just biased because I literally saw Eric's license like 2 days ago.
A little bit.
And he has the same, very similar hairstyle back in the day. But either way, Tony Padilla did have himself a little bit of a legacy game last night with the no travel call, no double dribble call, whatever you wanted. You could have called both on that Flory Bidunga double dribble jump up, double dribble dunk. It was unbelievable. But there were some real reasons why you did lose that game, not refereeing related, that Sam Alberts also brings up in the chat. You cannot shoot 55% from the free throw line and expect, great things to happen. What are you, 8 for 14 in this game and free throws, Damon? It just feels like Arizona was kind of shooting themselves in the foot, and I'm not really upset that, we're not undefeated anymore as a program, but I do feel like this is a loss that you could really learn from, right? There are some other ones I feel like potentially this year where if you did lose if you lose that BYU game, I feel like you're not really coming away from it like, oh, you know what? We have a lot to learn from. It's kind of like, how did you let that one slip away? This one more so, you kind of let it slip away, but you also were going up against a hell of a program in their house, in one of the most historic environments, against one of the most historic coaches. You can't let them stay in the game because they will take it from you. And that's kind of what Arizona did last night. They were in control for probably about 85% of that basketball game, but the last 15 was the most important to be in control of, and they let KU take control of it. And we'll see them again in 18 days in Tucson. And so we'll see how that one goes. I see a lot of KU fans online. They've since come down from their high of beating Arizona, and I saw one about half an hour ago that was like, if we can be honest, that was a good run, but we're getting belt in Tucson, right, guys? With a bunch of likes and stuff. And I will say, maybe you feel differently, Damon, but it was pretty fun interacting with KU fans this week as well.
Yeah.
They have some pretty good banter. They're not really insane crazy people like the BYU fans who just want to tell you that you're insane and dumb and don't know ball.
You think this team's not the best ever?
And then they'll be like, you're maybe the dumbest dude I've ever seen, but also I just want to let you know I'm a good guy. And so, GG's to your team, even though your whole program stinks and it should burn to the ground, but GG's. But it really feels like KU fans very knowledgeable about the game of basketball, really care about the game of basketball, and it's cool to see that they have an appreciation for Arizona entering the Big 12, and we're going to get a bunch of these games for years to come, and I am pumped up about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A budding rivalry in the making here. But it is I feel like we kind of got this interaction as well with, say, maybe UConn fans, but they got that Northeast bravado about them,
Yeah, there's an edge there.
For sure. And you're just not really all that inherently likable. Whereas the fine folks of Lawrence, Kansas, Kevin, I do think that there's a little bit of a Midwest thing going on there where they're going to be nice. They're also very knowledgeable. They've also been at the top and the pinnacle of this sport for so long. And so they know what it's like. They know what winning these type of games is like. So they're not going to overreact to it. If BYU won that game, oh my God. It'd be the biggest win in BYU program history, full stop, not even close.
Knowing what we know now, it might have actually saved their season the way it's going right now.
And so this is a team in Kansas that it's obviously a huge win for the program, and no doubt they're going to be excited about it. But this is a fan base that has seen multiple national championships. They're all good on regular season wins, I think, and so I know that there were some KU fans that were commenting on us talking about no rushing the court, we were trying to say that as like this is college basketball royalty right here. Like every 99.9999% of programs, 358 programs in the country rush the court in that situation, maybe more out of 365, and Kansas is just one of those few at the top that wouldn't do that. And I think Kevin and I have a lot of respect for Kansas, and the fact that we're even in these battles with a program like Kansas, I think shows where Arizona is at as a program as well. Of like, we're talking Big 12 hierarchy, and Kansas fans are treating us like we're at the top because we were and we are, and still, are tied for that number one spot in the Big 12 with Houston right now. So it just feels good to be, I think, in this conversation. And despite the loss, like very attainable win last night. And yeah, I feel confident you bring this one to Tucson, it's going to get turned around.
Yeah, and I'm seeing in the chat as well that they're saying that the biggest thing that they took away from the game was we never settled into Arizona's game, rush shots, poor shot selection, and didn't attack the rim as much as they did the rest of the season. And I'll give credit to Kansas we talked about this last night in the post game, like coming out and making it harder for Arizona to get to the spots that we become so accustomed seeing them get to. You see it at the end of the game when Jaden Bradley's really struggling to get to his elbow jumpers. They're forcing him into really long twos, and we're seeing it with Peat not being able to get to the rim as much as maybe he should have in this game. That we saw KU's maybe lackluster front court and thought, well, if you can get 1 or 2 on Bidunga early foul wise, that is a meal for Peat down low, and it was not that way last night. But I do feel like Arizona could have done a better job of, like, I think you saw. Crazily enough, you saw freshman Brayden Burries trying to do this at the end of the game. Like I feel like Arizona could have did a better job of slowing it down at times and just like running their stuff, like getting it in low, maybe play back a little bit inside out and just running some stuff. There were way too many times where like you do work it in low, which is check mark plus. Like that's how you want to start the possession if you're Arizona, getting it into either Krivas or Peat. But then when they would get it into Krivas or Peat, there were some times where Krivas would get it, they would send the double, he'd be a beat too slow with the decision-making, and then by the time he decides to make it, they're forcing him to pivot a couple times, and now you've got 7 seconds off the shot clock, and it was really good defense from Kansas is what it was last night. And they're a really good defensive side, but I felt like Arizona really lost the game on the margins, like the free throws, like some of the sloppy turnovers. This game was Arizona's to lose, and they lost it. Credit to Kansas for taking it. But Arizona, like I said earlier, controlled the majority of that game, and if they had played their game for the remainder of it, they would have won, Damon.
No one was – I know your example was Krivas, but no one was more affected by the ball pressure Kansas was sending than Peat.
Yeah.
And it felt like even at the times that they weren't sending a second guy at him when he would kind of collect it in the paint, he was like anticipating a second guy getting thrown at him, right? And it was just weird, kind of uncharacteristic fumblings of the basketball from Peat. Like it just felt like he was sensing the pressure before it was even coming a lot of the time, and that's not really just going to be a successful way, I don't think, for Peat to play ball. Peat has to be undeniable. He has to be, I'm more athletic than you, I'm stronger, faster, I'm going to get a good shot at the rim, or you're going to foul me. Not like, well, I'll see what the defense gives me and I'll react to it. And I think you need Koa to be able to, to find the open man when he gets the second guy sent his way. But it just felt like he was a little bit too apprehensive last night for me.
Yeah, it does feel like, and this is something me and Saul were talking about over text this morning, like it feels like he's been a little bit like, I don't know if this is the right word, like I'm not in his head, but it feels like he's been a little bit like passive in terms of his physicality, which is weird because he's such a physical player and he's so capable of like overpowering his opponents, like putting his chest or putting his shoulder down into their chest and just powering through. What does Marshawn Lynch say? Just run through an MFer's face. Like Peat has that to his game, but he hasn't really done a whole lot of it. It's been jogging through guys' faces, not running through guys' faces for Peat. So I'm hoping to see that uptick. I feel like you and I talked about this after the game during our therapy session, as you were calling it. Like I was telling you, like if Arizona were to lose like they did last night, I guarantee you there's not a single guy in that locker room, irrespective of performance. Because I think usually you'd want to say, like, oh, of course Peat would be the most motivated. He stunk it up. Like, he didn't have a good game. But I feel like that guy, the way he's wired, from what we understand him to be wired, no one is more motivated after that loss in Fog Allen than one Peat, I feel like.
Either Peat or Jaden Bradley.
Yes.
I mean, it's
yes.
one of the two of those guys. I mean, I heard you talk about it in your post-game reaction short that you do after every game here on our YouTube channel and on our TikTok. Go check it out. Kevin doing great work as always. But 4 of 19 combined from the two of those guys for 12 points, 19 shots, 12 points for Jaden Bradley and Peat just really isn't going to cut it. It's 2 of your 3 best players. I think we're kind of at the point now where Brayden Burries is just like, it has been decided. He has been for the better part of 2 months now, probably the best player on Arizona. But you still need those guys to have high floor production, which they typically do, just not in this one. And it costs you, because I think if one of them gives you their typical output, 12 points, 13 points, 14 points, we're talking about a different result here. And it's not like they didn't take the shots, right? Like that was my point with the people saying, if Darryn Peterson is playing for Kansas, this is a blowout, right? It's like, well, you're taking away shots that were made off the board, and then now Darryn Peterson has to make his shots for the score to keep the same, right? Whereas these shots were taken by Peat and Jaden Bradley. They just didn't go in. So I think, you get a normal game out of these two fellas, even out of one of them, you're probably winning this one. And it's going to go down to the wire still, but it's hard for me to be all that concerned about a performance that was so attainable against a really, really, truly elite team in college basketball with an elite coach in the best atmosphere, and then be like, wow, what a disaster. It's, the sun rises, Kevin, and the Arizona Wildcats have college game day on Saturday in our own house. And if you win that game, I still think that you have the best resume in college basketball. I still think you should be the number 1 team in the country. Now, will you be? Different discussion. I think recency bias probably in the way that they've wanted to make Michigan number 1 all season, Simba style. I think, that will lead to Michigan probably taking that spot. But I think if you beat Texas Tech, you still have the best resume in college basketball. And I'm feeling great about Arizona's chances to kind of continue thriving down the stretch.
Just so everybody remembers, Arizona's loss right now as it stands is at Kansas in Fog Allen on Big Monday. Michigan's 1 loss so far at home, random like Wednesday night against Wisconsin by 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so we're on the same page with that, we can.
Well, what's better, losing to Kansas at the mecca of college basketball, or losing to Wisconsin at your own home floor?
Yeah, I mean, some say Wisconsin is a bandwagon, man, or they're an absolute wagon. So I don't know.
Wagon.
But I will say this, Damon. There are a couple things I think Arizona can learn from this one specifically. We do have Tommy Lloyd talking about, specifically in the first part of this clip, Flory Bidunga and his dominance in this game. But then he kind of starts to talk about what are some areas that he could look at and single out as where Arizona lost this game. Here is our fearless leader, Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the Garden guards you. I wish he was guarding our guards. He just really impacts the game at the rim. I mean, we that game comes down to probably, if you just have to start slicing and dicing and picking 1 or 2 things, and we didn't finish at the rim well enough. And usually we're really proficient at finishing at the rim. We're getting fouled, and it's not very often we get out free throwed, and it's not very often we don't make a higher percentage of our at rim shots. So Kansas gets credit for that.
Yeah, and I think Arizona, one thing that we were talking about on the postgame already in this show was that they did not do a good enough job at getting to the rim and being efficient when they got to the rim. You're missing some bunnies in this game, very uncharacteristic misses from Arizona in this one. And if this is kind of what the chat was referencing earlier, if you play Arizona basketball and execute the way that you can execute going forward, you probably win that basketball game. But I think the fact that they lost this game, Damon, and we can start with that. Like, the fact that they did not do what was required to win the game. Mm-hmm. I think there have been many times this year where they did not do or did not play up to the standard that they hold themselves to, but they still get the win. And I think we've seen this with many fighters in the past in MMA, where they're winning, and they start to think, it's not the process, it's me. And I'm not saying that this is what the team is thinking, but I think it's a human subconscious thing to understand that, well, I don't necessarily have to do everything perfect to get the ideal result. They did not do everything perfect in this one, and you don't get the result. I think this is a great learning experience, specifically for the freshmen. Because I think it's naturally human. Like Saul said it last night in the postgame show. this group of freshmen is not like a look at me, I'm perfect, I'm so good, I'm a great player, like I'm unstoppable. That's not really their vibe. Their vibe is development. They are process-oriented individuals. But even process-oriented individuals, that thought starts to creep into your mind of like, well, we're 23 games into the year. We've beat some pretty damn good teams, including the defending national champions. Maybe we're just better than everybody else right now. And hey, I think that Arizona coming out and losing this game, it teaches the freshmen there's an understanding now that if we don't do what's required, we will not get the results. And I think that's huge for Peat. I think it's huge for Brayden Burries. I think it's huge for Ivan Karchenkov to a lesser extent, like some of these guys that have professional overseas experience. But if you don't do what's required in these games for the full 40 minutes, you will lose some of these Big 12 games. Very important lesson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Kansas environment, you say less so for Ivan Karchenkov, but I think that, that's probably one of the better environments that he's ever played in his life as well. I mean, college basketball it's not the NBA where there's a DJ playing during every possession and, it's all about the vibe of it, right? The vibe of college is very much the students, the local crowd from Lawrence, Kansas that everyone travels in and goes to the Fog Allen Fieldhouse for the game. But one thing I think that kind of went under the radar is Ivan Karchenkov. And now let me just preface this by saying the three-pointers did not look pretty. 0 for 3, airballed one, hit almost banked in one a corner three on another. Like he was pretty far off on the perimeter attempts. Finishes 6 of 14 for 13 points. We talk about it every time that Ivan Karchenkov has one of these like 13, 15-point outings. When? Where? How? I don't remember. I mean, he is just such a silent assassin when it comes to the way that he collects points. He gives you 6 rebounds as well, 3 steals, 2 personal fouls. Like the guy he's just such a glue guy for any sort of winning basketball team. And I felt like, that's honestly a really good performance and just experience out of Ivan Karchenkov as well, to go out there, not quite the Brayden Burries level of just like nails response to every shot, but Karchenkov did have himself a pretty solid game as well.
Yeah, and I mean, having his level of level-headedness is really beneficial to this team, right? Like he's one of the guys that no one stopped playing, but he especially increased his level of intensity as the game got closer and as the deficit started to climb. He's the one that came in and made that almost game-saving tip out of bounds at the end of the game to get you to the Brayden Burries 3, which was incredible on its own. So definitely credit to Ivan Karchenkov. Another, I feel like, positive thing in this one, you talked about the experience some of the freshmen get. Great experience for Brayden Burries. And I think one thing I took away from last night, I feel like you probably feel the same, Damon, is that at this point, nothing is going to shake Brayden Burries. Like if the fog is not going to shake Brayden Burries, nothing is shaking Brayden Burries. I think this was like the last. Yes, this was the. Whoa, should we have uttered those words in this context? Oh no! But I think I had no doubt that Brayden Burries is going to at least have a decent game against Kansas. But I think it was a nice test of, and we talked about this on the watch along, of like there are some players on this team where you really want to see what they have in the most adverse environment possible. The list was probably Dwayne Aristode, Krivas, Burries. And I mean, pregame, I did not have Peat on this list. Going forward, Peat is number 1 on that list. But I feel like you got a lot. You got a lot to learn from Brayden Burries in this one. He was a killer from minute 1 to minute 40 in this one. His parents had the swag from head to toe in Brayden Burries gear. It was a great Brayden Burries night. He did not get the result.
I'll take 20.
Yeah, I will take 20 as well. I think Chris Canfield on our Twitter was like, I ran into them, like his parents at the game, and they told him that they're going to start bringing extras to maybe start divvying out to people. That would be insane. But, I think you learned that Brayden Burries is unwaverable. He's unshakable at this point. He just had to put some puzzle pieces together in the first 2 months of the season, month and a half or whatever it was, 3 weeks. I don't even know if it was that long. But he struggled to start the year, figured it out. Now he's unflappable. So I love that. And Icy Mike brings it up. Fran Fraschilla saying that he reminds him of Devin Booker. And I mean, I feel like a fool, Damon, because I was earlier in this year, I was like,
we were laughing.
Yeah. And neither of us really said that it was like completely like lunacy, but I think both of us were like, hey, can we pump the brakes on comparing a freshman guard who's played like 8 games to the Suns' all-time leading scorer in Devin Booker?
It's just a very high level outcome.
Yes. But he's played.
We're talking about can Peat be the next Aaron Gordon? And that's considered a high-level outcome. Now consider Devin Booker and what that level of NBA player looks like. But it really is like, I'm not saying that it's uncanny, but the way that he takes the ball in transition and just finishes through contact, absorbs whatever a defender is trying to meet him at the rim when he gets his head downhill, like it really is pretty reminiscent of one Devin Booker. He's such a strong guard. And that's like really, I feel like maybe the standout quality every time that I watch Brayden Burries is really just how strong he is. It doesn't feel like like defenders can really put him off of his spot when he is going downhill. Hardly ever. And that's rare, I think, of especially a freshman guard. Like you'd think that would be a little bit of an adjustment, and it was slightly, but he really just puts it into a defender's chest and then just finishes right at the rim and does it with ease, it feels like. And it's Booker-esque in that regard.
No, it seriously is. It seriously is Booker-esque. And I was watching some Kentucky Devin Booker highlights this morning to just kind of get like a vibes check of like what are they seeing that maybe I don't remember. And when you watch it back, I'm not gonna lie to you, Damon, it got me intrigued to the point where I'm like, do I need to like do some sort of video side by side with these two guys? Are people convince me to this extent? I mean, I saw the photo of them next to each other a couple weeks ago, and I'm thinking, I see it. I mean, Brayden Burries kind of mogs the guy. But anyway, Damon, I think that honestly that is.
I thought you had no idea what.
I knew what that word meant, but the clavicular and the other stuff you were saying, I don't know what the hell that means, and I'm pretty brain rotted myself. But I think that's my biggest takeaway from last night is that you got incredibly valuable experience. You finally learned that if you do not do what is requisite, you will not get the required result. And also, Brayden Burries is completely unflappable at this point. He's a killer. He is a silent assassin at this point in time.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Kevin, we got to get into some Big 12 tier rankings here on a Tuesday, as we do every Tuesday here on the PHNX Sports Channel. We appreciate everybody for popping in here and being a part of this podcast. Even our guy, Nelson up there? Appreciate you, man. Never seen you in him before, but obviously you've been keeping up with our videos, so we appreciate everyone's support here. If you want to become a Sporting Club member, $5 a month, and you get access to some custom emojis, some members-only content, and it's just an extra way to support us here at PHNX Sports. But we did reach 50K, Kevin. Bang! We did so yesterday. Massive moment here at PHNX Sports, and we appreciate everybody that is subscribed to the channel and that has made that happen. Appreciate everybody for watching here. We're going to get into our Big 12 tier rankings. Does Arizona stay at the top? Is Kansas an S-tier team? Find out on the other side of this break here on the AZ Wildcats pod.
I said it last night. I will say it again, Damon. If you punched your window or your wall and need to replace it, you should call it Window Depot. We're going to get to that in a second. But if you injured yourself seriously by getting your anger out, only one place to call. It's the husband and wife law team. Or if you got in an accident, more likely, and you got a serious injury in that, or heaven forbid, have a wrongful death sort of litigation you need to go through. First of all, I apologize that you're going through that. And second of all, you could get help from our friends over at the husband and wife law team. You can call 602-783-8841 and get the serious injury and wrongful death specialists on call. And when I'm talking about specialists, Damon, they just don't throw that word around. You have to really earn those stripes. And how did they earn those stripes? They're a part of just the 1% of Arizona lawyers certified by the state bar that are specialists in serious injury and wrongful death. So that is why you should call 602-783-8841 to reach the husband and wife law team, because if you've had a serious injury, that's the only number you should call. You can reach them at any time for any reason. And also cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. They are completely transparent and will tell you both the good and the bad of your case. So visit their website, the link in our show notes below. Let them know we sent you, or call that number at the bottom left of your screen, 602-783-8841, husbandandwifelawteam.com.
Husband and wife law team, you think pedigree, right? When you think of Circle K, you think savings. You think money being kept in your pocket, Kevin, because you're getting the cheapest gas in Arizona. And let me tell you, there is a fuel day in 2 days.
What?
On February 12th, we got another fuel day on the horizon. All you got to do is become an Inner Circle Rewards member, and you will save 40 cents off per gallon all day long at the tank at any Circle K location that is participating. All you have to do is enter your phone number at the pump, at your local participating Circle K, and you'll save 40 cents off per gallon of every gallon that you spend there. It's great. It's fantastic. Fuel days, there's about one every single month. But that's not where the savings stop, Kevin. If you're signing up to become an Inner Circle member right now to get access to this fuel day, you'll also save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Stack that, save 65 cents off per gallon. If you're just a regular Inner Circle member, you still stack it with the 3 cents off per gallon savings. And of course, 5 cents off per gallon when you hit premium status like me and Kevin. But guys, it's so simple to sign up. It's easy, it's free, and it takes 2 minutes to download the app and get it all settled. So become an Inner Circle Rewards member today. Money to be saved right there in front of you. You want to get in on that. They also have all types of great meal deals, snack deals, drink deals, caffeine deals over at Circle K as well. It is America's thirst stop for a reason. So check out everything the Inner Circle has to offer at Circle K, including that fuel day on Thursday here. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
We have our Big 12 tier rankings for this week, and boy, has there been some shakeups at the top. Arizona losing to Kansas, and that is just the beginning of it, Damon. So this should be a pretty good one. This should be a pretty good one this week as we get started here, right?
Yeah, definitely some movement maybe to be had in our Big 12 tier maker, because there's always movement here in the Big 12 conference, Kevin, with the quality and caliber of teams at the top, especially in this conference. But let's start off with maybe something a little bit more on the back end here. Give me a bad team.
Yeah, we got Colorado off the top. Colorado currently sits at 14-10 on the season, 71 in Ken Palm, and they are coming off of back-to-back results versus Baylor and Arizona State, where they got a loss versus Baylor, and they beat Arizona State by 8. Damon, this is a D-tier team to me.
Yeah, I think they're D tier. They are 4-7 now in the conference, which is not like absolutely horrific. But yeah, not a good team. Not a good team. I think at the top of D tier for me.
Colorado at the top of the D tier is our first team off of the board, Damon. Next up, we have a very, very familiar customer, Kansas. Now, Kansas has been making a ton of noise recently. They are on absolute fire. It feels like, honestly, nothing can stop Kansas basketball right now. Not even Darryn Peterson sitting out of games can stop them. Not even the undefeated Arizona Wildcats can stop them right now. Kansas coming off of a big home win against Arizona, upsetting the number 1 team in the country, and they are on a 8-game win streak right now in the Big 12 Conference that started with them defeating Iowa State. Fun fact, they also became just the first program in the last 40 years to defeat 2 15 or better squads in the same season. Damon, tell me why this is not an S-tier team. They're able to beat the number 1 team in the country without their number 1 pick.
Yeah, I think that when we're doing this discussion, like obviously I'm having the conversation of I think recency bias is going to put Michigan over the top over Arizona for the number 1 overall ranking here in the next AP poll on Monday, and that's assuming Arizona beats Texas Tech, which is a big assumption to make. It's a really good team that we have on Saturday, but I just think, I know it's recency bias, but I just think Kansas, 8-game win streak, the teams that they've beaten on that win streak, doing it without Darryn Peterson, I think it's an S-tier team as well. I really do. I think it's probably on the back end of the S-tier, but I mean, they're top 10, Kevin. If that's not S-tier, I don't know what is.
Top 10 and can literally beat anyone on any given night.
Yeah.
And I think that is about as S tier as it gets. And as we move on, we have Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. Oh, man. What do we do with Oklahoma State? Yeah, absolutely mogged by Arizona in their last time out. They have not played since. They'll face Arizona State tonight, Damon. What are we going to do with the Cowboys?
Well, last week we had them in the C tier, and they also beat BYU in that time period. So they got mogged by Arizona by 38 points?
Yeah.
37 points. And then they beat BYU at home. So I think they stay in the C tier. They're 4-6 now overall. They're a team that is at least going to compete for potentially making a tournament here. And yeah, I mean, it definitely, not the result against Arizona you wanted to see, but now next 2 games, they got at ASU and TCU at home. I think you win those 2 games, you get back to 6-6. You're sitting in a somewhat decent position with Kansas, Colorado, West Virginia, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston down the stretch. So I think that they could finish 500 in conference, and that might be enough to put them in the tournament here. I think that's the definition of a C-tier team, essentially.
I like it, Damon. I like it a lot. And as we continue on our tier ranking, we do have
Oklahoma State's underdogs against ASU on the betting line. Sam, are you serious?
He's saying it.
Dude, I can't keep losing money on ASU men's basketball this season. Every bet I place against these dudes, fading them, that's when they play their best game of the season. Texas, Gonzaga, Arizona, both games. All I'm doing is losing money on these bums, Kevin. They're horrible. And I don't know how I keep losing money on them. And it's probably because I see things like that and I go, oh, Oklahoma State's underdogs? I'm going to put all my money on them. How is that possible?
Maybe the books think that Bobby Hurley's going to figure out how to coach rebounding.
Bobby himself told us he's given up. Oklahoma State's playing for something. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it is ridiculous. Good luck with that, Damon. Will you be betting that or no?
I mean, yeah, I'm going to take the cheese, Kevin. It's a rat line, and I'm running for the cheese. If there's a chance I grab it and I get away before the trap comes down, you know?
Roberto says, just tell me who you bet on in this game, Damon, and I will pick the opposite team. Just so
what a disaster. What a disaster. Last night, I took Arizona spread and first half money line, so I kind of evened itself out on those plays, but felt like spread was bound to happen there for a second. And yeah, ASU has a 55% chance on the analytics, too, on ESPN. I mean, this doesn't make any damn sense to me.
It makes no sense to me. Real Pigeon saying the books are going to pay Hurley to throw. I mean, throw Tony Padilla in that boat too. You know what I mean?
I'm going to take it.
Why not?
There's a gun already pointed at my head. You guys just can't see it. I have to take Oklahoma State money line over ASU.
Well, you see both my hands. I am innocent in whatever the hell he just accused someone in this room of doing. But Damon,
it's actually a red dot coming from the apartment complex across the street over here, Kevin. You just can't tell.
I can't tell. I really can't. But Houston is next on our tier ranking. Damon, this is a team that is, as we know, just as dangerous as any team in this conference, and in my opinion, should be still above Kansas in the S tier. Do you agree?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Houston is 9-1. They're 21-2 overall. They're the number 3 team in the country. Their only loss in conference was to Texas Tech on the road, which we know is similar to Kansas, not quite the same, but
no Christian Anderson in that game as well.
But also the guys that needed to step up, as we talked about with Darryn Peterson, they found a way to step up, right? And so Houston, I mean, they're the definition of an S-tier team. It's possible that now, with all things being equal, I think you could make the argument that they are now the team to beat, given that Tommy Lloyd is still yet to beat Houston. That these teams are kind of on equal footing now, assuming Houston wins their midweek game, and that's against Utah. So I think we could be looking at Houston as being the premier team here, the team to beat here in the Big 12 regular season, that being.
I still feel like, yes, they are the defending conference champions. Yes, it is their conference until someone dethrones them in the regular season or whatnot. But I don't know. Just looking at these two teams in a vacuum, I still feel like Arizona is like the biggest challenge possible in this conference over Houston right now. They're just playing the best basketball at anybody in this conference. Houston is not very far off. Neither is Kansas. Hence why both those teams are in the S tier. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Houston belongs at the top of the S tier right now with the teams we've already done, ahead of Kansas, ahead of Oklahoma State, ahead of Colorado. What they have on that roster is immense. It's unbelievable, the talent they've been able to compile in Houston, regardless of what Kelvin Sampson has to say about their NIL or lack thereof. But regardless, Houston in the S tier. They continue to be on fire, and it's going to be absolute fireworks when they take on Arizona later this month. We got Kansas State coming up next, Damon, and I think we can we can just do this one right now. This is a D tier team. Jerome Tang, your program is simply too poor to fire your ass, or else they would have done it already. K-State is at the bottom of the Big 12 right now. You can't fire your coach because you're too broke, and now you're stuck with Jerome Tang. Jerome Tang. Do you agree, Damon?
When it comes to the Jerome Tang little baby video, it's the fact that he's done it multiple times. I get it after the Elite Eight going to the Final Four, but then you get like another like semi big win, and he's like, Let's pull out all the stops again. We're going right back to it. I don't know if that was the move. I think we let the one live in infamy forever. And that's, you don't make it your thing, because you're almost serving yourself up to be dunked on like this. And Kansas State is a horrific team, 1-9. It's cooked. It's over. I can't believe Jerome Tang has more Final Fours, since I can essentially remember the sport than the Arizona Wildcats do. That hurts me, and it keeps me up at night. Genuinely.
I mean, it kind of, to me, just kind of shows like how small the margins are in this sport, where like you can make it
one bit of luck to go your way, and we've had the worst luck for 25 years straight, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, they say it is what is it? Preparation and opportunity. That's
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will. Kevin,
Iowa State is next on our list of tiers, and honestly, I think it's time, Damon. We got to have a discussion. Iowa State, do they deserve to move back into the S tier? Do they deserve to get up into that S tier right now? It feels like they are a team that has pretty much beaten everybody that you put in front of them, except for Kansas, except for Cincinnati on the road, which really throws a wrench in all of this. But
it does.
If we're doing a what have you done for me lately type of math, this team is on a 5-game win streak. Mm-hmm. Now, during that win streak, they have played absolutely nobody in terms of the Big 12. UCF, Oklahoma State, Colorado, Kansas State, Baylor. UCF, decent. Oklahoma State, decent. Colorado was in our D tier. K-State, maybe the worst team in the conference. PJ Haggerty might be taking bribes on the side. Baylor is a complete mess right now as well.
3-point win at home, too. I mean, it's not like it was an impressive outing versus Baylor.
But you do have the 8th best defense in the country per KenPom and the 10th best offense. The balance is unbelievable. You have multiple All-American candidates on that team. Is this still the very tippy top of the A tier, or do they deserve to get into that S tier?
Man, Iowa State fans should just despise this podcast. I think it's A tier. I do. And I think that I just said Kansas, that's top 10. That makes you S tier. Iowa State's number 5. They're top 5, and I'm telling them they're A tier. They are uniquely balanced. I think they're uniquely built to give Arizona a big challenge when they come to Tucson in March. And I'm really excited for that game. I think that they've probably had that one circled since Caleb Love made that 3/4 court shot. But yeah, I don't know. I think that when I look at this conference and I think about the top teams, I'm really like, I think there's 3 of them. And I think that Iowa State might be my lone A tier team, honestly. If we're kind of, my internal math is correct, just off of my inclinations right now. But so close to S tier.
Yeah,
I want an empty A tier.
Okay, look, chat, let me know if I am way off base here. I feel like what's keeping Iowa State from the S tier is like that true, like, heat check supernova player. I understand that Milan Momcilovic can do that type of stuff with his shooting, but like, they just don't have like a Kingston Flemings. They just don't have like a Darryn Peterson. They just don't have, hell, even like a Melvin Council or a Flory Bidunga. Like, they just don't have, like, they have incredible balance. They got a ton of really good, and the sum of those parts makes them great. But I don't think that they have a great player on that team. And I think what we do see with all the teams in the S tier is that not only are they a well-balanced machine, well-coached machine, but they also have that upper echelon star on their team that can really get you through these games. And we're going to get to another team in the S tier here in a little bit. But yeah, I think Iowa State deserves to be in that A tier. They are about as S tier as any A tier team could possibly be, but they are at the top of our A tier, Damon. Moving on.
They're sitting there. Iowa State's name is on the club list. Kevin and I are the bouncers, and they're going, it's right there. And what? Kevin and I are going, I got no idea what you're talking about, brother.
He's like looking at us. He's like looking at the list.
Guess what? General admission line starts way back there. Way back there.
Yeah, man.
You better get to standing.
They're at the end of the Boondocks line on a Saturday night with nothing else going on. They're in an
waste
hour.
Management weekend.
Tough,
dude.
Gross. Tough. Cincinnati is up next. And in my opinion, I mean, anytime your coach, yes, that's what I'm getting at. Anytime your coach is apologizing after games to select fans in the back tunnels of the arena, saying like, you deserve to be frustrated, I stink, I've done a bad job. It's not good enough. I'm frustrated. That deserves you to be put into the D tier.
Same record as Colorado in conference, which is also a D-tier team. A recent win over UCF, which is pretty massive, though, Kevin, especially for UCF reasons. I think that could be a loss that potentially is debilitating towards UCF when we're doing tournament discussions and talking about bubble teams. But before that, lost to West Virginia, lost to Houston, beat Baylor. I mean, Cincinnati is not good. They were supposed to be pretty decent. And Wes Miller, it's it. This is it. I think they're probably a little higher up in the D tier than that, to be fair.
All right, we'll put them back with the rest of the class, and we'll leave K-State. We'll leave K-State to their own devices.
Yeah, K-State belongs in a class of their own with the scrubs. And Colorado and Cincinnati at least are, as far as D tier, the class of the D tier, Kevin.
Oh, wow. Getting classy in the D tier. I love that.
Pinky's out.
Yeah, breaking out the ascots and stuff like that.
Wes Miller to ASU, I'm with it.
Oh, man.
I'm with it.
I would love that. Feed me that.
That's the type of hard-nosed defensive coach that the Sun Devils need.
Yeah.
Turn this thing around.
Yeah, for sure. Arizona State is up next on our list, Damon. Mm-hmm. Where are we going to put the Sun Devils? They're a D-tier team still to me. Nothing has changed. In fact, you could make the argument to me that they deserve to be separated from the rest of the class, just like K-State in like a detention situation, because their coach is coming out and saying, oh, well, stupid question, young student journalist, you stupid idiot. You think that we're going to just start rebounding because you think I'm just going to start coaching? Absolutely not. I refuse to coach. And in fact, if I did coach, my players are too dumb to understand it anyway because they're not good at basketball. That's pretty much what Bobby Hurley's been trying to say. We can't rebound. We're not going to be able to rebound. I refuse to coach. I'm giving up. And they're in the D tier. Damon, do you disagree?
No, they're a D-tier team. I also think they're maybe middle of the pack in the D-tier. They can beat other D-tier teams. They can beat Utah. They can beat Cincinnati. They can beat Kansas State. They can go toe-to-toe with Colorado on the road, but they can't beat anybody that's not in the D-tier in this entire conference. And I think that makes you the definition of a D-tier team, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, Arizona State, it's such a funny thing because I think if you're a national fan of the Big 12, like you're not really like too tapped in, but you're like, oh, the Big 12 is my favorite conference right now this season to watch, right? You're probably thinking like, wow, Arizona State, what's gone wrong there? You gave Arizona 2 heart attacks, man. You almost did what KU did, man. It's crazy. And then you actually watch the games and you're like, oh my God. That was not only their best shot, but their first and second best shots of the season against Arizona. And that's what you got. I'm shocked they beat Utah even, to be honest with you. I felt like this team is cooked. The fact that they play Utah again on the 28th, same day Arizona plays Kansas in Tucson. I'm thinking like, does Arizona State like win another game this year? You got.
I mean, they're favored to beat Oklahoma State, brother.
I know, but it wouldn't be the first time.
No, I mean, but it would be the first time all season that I win money while fading ASU. So that actually would be the first time by definition. There's
some real history on the line here, Damon. Something's got to give.
Listen, dude, they play Utah at home.
Yeah. I don't believe in Bobby Hurley ball.
Who does? No one Bobby doesn't believe in Bobby Hurley ball, but that doesn't mean that they can't beat Utah.
Yeah, that's fair.
It doesn't mean they can't beat Baylor.
That's fair.
Even TCU. I know they said that they can't beat another team that's out of the D tier, but like I think TCU is not far from being a D tier team at this point.
And yeah, you are right, Stealth Threat, that they should change K-State to PJ Haggerty University because I feel like they're paying him enough to do so. I think so. They might as well. And yeah, Roberto, ASU is doomed on the basketball side of things.
Let's get one more in here, Kevin, before we hit our final break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We got Baylor, Damon. Baylor is currently sitting at 13-10 under Scott Drew and his G League alliance that he has. I wonder how that's going for him these days. But
good.
They lose.
Things are good.
Things are really good. They have Big 12 wins against Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Colorado, and Big 12 losses to every team with a pulse. Baylor, in my opinion, as talented as they are, for me, they're at the top of that D tier, Damon. Do you agree, or do you think they sneak into the C tier?
I think it's Baylor, it's Colorado, it's Cincinnati that are the teams that on a given day might be able to catch an okay team in this conference. Might be able to beat a UCF, an Oklahoma State. But for the most part, bad basketball teams that you can't trust at all. Baylor, trustworthy is the last thing Baylor is right now. You're right. They do have some talent. They have an NBA player on their team.
Free Tunde, free Obi.
They just stink, and they're so inconsistent. And they'll play, for example, they'll lose by 3 on the road to Iowa State, and then lose to Cincinnati before that. And you're like, how is that possible? How are you going toe to toe with the top 5 team to the wire? And then, you're also in dogfights with a terrible Wes Miller-led Cincinnati team. Just doesn't really make sense. Baylor, 2 years in a row, was supposed to have, pretty decent expectations and just completely fall flat. Terrible.
Yeah, it's really strange. They just don't have any depth. They have, 3 guys on that team and, Dan Skillings, and that's about it. But like Damon said, we do have one more ad break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Leave a like, drink your water, do not go anywhere. Damon, I like to think that this podcast is more than just a podcast. Don't you?
Yeah. Obviously, it's a way of life, Kevin.
Yeah, and that is how the Window Depot lives their life. They are more than just a window store. You think that we just podcast. You think that they just do windows, but they do a whole lot more than windows at the Window Depot. Everything from flooring to, skylights to windows to kitchen countertops. Hell, they can even help you with your bathroom remodel. And they have 7 locations across the great freedom state of Arizona, and windows proudly manufactured here in the city, well, not here in the city of Tucson, but in the city of Tucson, here in the state of Arizona is what I'm going for there. And contractors and homeowners alike love the Window Depot because whether you're remodeling your kitchen or tackling a multi-family build like a contractor would, their expert staff and no membership policy makes it easy to get what you need fast. So visit thewindowdepot.com and get started on your next project today. Stop by one of their 7 Arizona locations and see for yourself why they are more than just a window store. And we are more than just a dynamic duo on this podcast. We are 2 men with incredible
brothers.
Big 12 opinions, and indeed we are brothers. Some say we're Valentines, but that is neither confirmed nor denied. But we are part of that blood pact. We haven't done that in a long time. I think there's a lot of people in this chat that have missed out on that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's for the best that we're not cutting our listeners.
For those of you that don't know, Kevin and I used to cut our hands open
at the start of every show.
Join them together as blood brothers for every podcast in the early days of this thing. So, yeah, we were told probably got to chill out on that. So we did so. But let's get back into these Big 12 tier rankings here, Kevin. And what is our next team at play?
Yeah, you know who's next. It's the Arizona Wildcats, everybody. Arizona is up next. And now, look, Arizona takes a loss to Kansas on the road in Fog Allen in a raucous environment. Mm-hmm. Yes, no Darryn Peterson. But it's not the first time Kansas has played without Darryn Peterson. They played against Duke without Darryn Peterson. They played against UConn without Darryn Peterson. And now they've beaten the number 1 team in the country on their own home floor without Darryn Peterson. So as Tommy Lloyd said, this is not the Darryn Peterson show. We're not going to be talking, about Darryn Peterson's impact on the Arizona loss. I think that this team is still an S-tier team, Damon. I think Arizona is still an S-tier team. I think that they have shown enough over the course of the season to not drop out of that after one measly loss to one of the better teams in this conference. Arizona still at the top of the S-tier. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm with you. No doubt about it. I don't know about no doubt about it at the top. Like I said, I think I could hear an argument for Houston now that it's 1 loss apiece, and they're just kind of a team that's been there before, done that before. Kelvin Sampson has the last 2 Big 12 regular season championships and conference tournament championships, I believe, right? And it's not like it's with a new collection of players. It's Emmanuel Sharp, Joseph Tugler, Milos Uzan, and then the new players that they brought in are a bunch of 5-star, incredibly talented freshmen, including Kingston Flemings, who looks like he's been there for 7 years at Houston for some reason. So I think, Houston, you could argue, maybe belongs at the very top spot, but Arizona's body of work over the course of the entire season, I think, gives them a little bit of grace, right? You lose 1 game to a top 10 team, keep them in the S tier, keep them at the top. And Texas Tech game on Saturday will teach us a lot.
Look, we've said it before this season, but just one loss does not mean Arizona will not be in the S tier. Like, if anyone in the country deserves to be in the S tier of their conference, it is Arizona. Coming into that Kansas game, 8-0 in quad one wins this season, I believe, Damon, or road wins or something like that. This team is unbelievable. Like you said, their level of play is that of an S tier team, not just in this conference, but in the whole damn country as well. So, yes, if Arizona drops a couple more games over this stretch, we can have that conversation about, do they still deserve to be in that S tier, or do they still deserve to be ahead of Houston or Kansas or whatnot? But for right now, this is still the who's who in the Big 12. You got Arizona, Houston, Kansas in that S tier, Iowa State in that A tier. Let's populate into the B tier here, Damon, with our friends at UCF.
Yeah, we'll keep them in here, but man, is that a bad loss, Kevin.
Yeah. I mean, look, you cannot lose to Cincinnati by 20, man.
No.
20 points? 20 points you lose to Cincinnati by. You cannot lose by 20 points to a coach that is actively apologizing after games because he is doing such a bad job. Meanwhile, your coach is being lauded as a genius for compiling this roster of veterans who looks like they could go to the tournament and maybe cause a couple wins. You know what I mean? But yeah, really bad loss for UCF. I still think they're in the B tier until further notice, but they have a couple games coming up here against West Virginia, TCU, Utah, and then BYU, where they could really still prove their muscle and prove their mettle.
I think we're in a situation where these next three games are the season for UCF. You got to win all three. Yeah, you can't lose to West Virginia, TCU, or Utah when you're trying to compete and make the tournament. And I think that's this. It's boiling down to this. You got to take care of those games if you're UCF. And yeah, it's a B tier team.
Next up, West Virginia. Where are the Mountaineers this week, Damon?
I think C tier. I think they've established themselves as a team at 6-5 in the conference that, you know, they are taking care of business against some of the more lesser teams on their schedule, whether it's Kansas State, Cincinnati, Colorado, ASU, and even Kansas. You know, they beat Kansas earlier in the year. Their one not so good loss is to Baylor, essentially. All the rest of the games, they've kind of done exactly what you would expect them to do. Beat the bad teams, lose to the really good teams. So I think that's C tier. I think they're average, but I think they're a year away from being actually a pretty solid basketball team.
Do we think that they're ahead or behind of Oklahoma State?
I think Oklahoma State, with that more recent big win against BYU, maybe has a little bit more momentum, but then that got stifled by Arizona, right, in really embarrassing fashion. And like West Virginia lost very similarly to Arizona. I think it's damn close, Kevin. What do you think? I'll go with whatever you want.
I think we're splitting hairs, to be honest with you. I only asked the question because I think, you know, when you're in the same tier and it's only two teams, you got to have the conversation of who should be ahead of who. I think that these are two very similar squads right now. I think Oklahoma State has the more talented roster.
Yeah.
Maybe the better coach? Question mark? Still yet to be seen, really, what Ross Hodge can do in the Big 12. But I think that West Virginia, if we're really going to break it down to like something so simple, splitting such small hairs, I think they lost to Arizona by less, like barely less than what Oklahoma State did. And to my memory, it was an embarrassing loss for West Virginia and one of Arizona's more complete games of the season, but it didn't feel like the unbelievable ass kicking that the Oklahoma State game felt like. And maybe I'm misremembering it.
No, I think those were the two best games of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of complete performance of just domination, utter domination. I think that those two teams, that's what makes it so hard to compare for me, is that both of them are like kind of teams that you were like, all right, we got to respect them coming in. And then about 5 minutes into the game, you're like, all right, we didn't have to respect them. We got this thing on wraps.
No, yeah. And for the record, I agree that they were both like two of Arizona's more complete performances. But I think like in what I was getting at was that like in that game, I felt like West Virginia did more stuff positive than Oklahoma State did. Like I felt like Oklahoma State did nothing right in that game. Like I felt like there's a reality where they score like 25 points total in that basketball game. Legitimately, right? Like they had nothing going. At least
wasn't too far off.
Like at least West Virginia had Honor Huff like hitting from damn near half court, trying to keep his team somewhat in it. They had Trayson Eaglestaff trying to shoot his team back into it. I felt like Oklahoma State couldn't even get started offensively. West Virginia, we know they can't put the ball in the basket. Oklahoma State at least has some guys that we know can, and Arizona completely shut them down. You know what? Give me West Virginia still at the head of the C tier. Yeah, give me West Virginia still at the head of the C tier.
I mean, this is why you tune into the AZ Wildcats podcast, because you're going to get 6 minutes of debate of whether West Virginia or Oklahoma State belongs at the top of the C tier. Only the most hard-hitting and important questions are being answered here every single day at 2
It's about the integrity of our list, Damon.
No doubt. I'm with you, Kevin. we had to debate that and flesh it out. And next up, we got Utah, who stinks and belongs in the D tier. You got anything else to say on Utah?
No, we can ration out our time on air here with Utah and just get right back into our list, because this is a D tier team. They're not very good. We've been pretty open about how bad Utah is this year, but also the fact that they have a first-year head coach, and historically they're one of the worst programs in the country. So uphill battle for Alex Jensen is the understatement of the century. So we'll see what he can do there. But yeah, it's been a rough first year for Alex Jensen in Utah. Next up, we got Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech, I know you said we might only have one team in the A tier, but I think this is our second A tier team, Damon.
I agree with you. I think I had forgotten a little bit about Texas Tech when I made that statement. And I don't think they're quite an S tier team. I think that they're a couple players away from being that S tier team. They have the upper echelon talent, the ceiling raisers, the guys that can make them beat an S tier team. But I don't know if they have the horses to do that sustainably over 5 NCAA tournament games that I think makes the S tier teams the true contenders out of the Big 12. Whereas Texas Tech, like, I think that they could catch almost any single team that they play on any given night, but I just don't know how sustainable it is over the course of multiple games in a row. So yeah, a lot of respect to Texas Tech. Really good team. Going to be a super interesting game in Tucson on Saturday at College Game Day for a measuring stick of sorts. Right after you lose, maybe the biggest game of the season to Kansas, you get no rest time, no break here, and you already face off against like a top 15 caliber team in Texas Tech. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. A tier team.
Yeah, A tier team. That is, I feel like, the definition of the A tier right now. I feel like Iowa State is in a weird, like, between S and A, like, tweener stage right now. But Texas Tech, I feel like, is the definition of an A tier team right now in the Big 12. Moving on, we got TCU. Damon, TCU, go Frogs on our list here.
Lost a lot of respect for TCU so far this season, Kevin.
1,000%. And that's where I was going with this, Damon. Are we sure this is still a C tier team?
No. We're not sure it's still a C tier team. I mean, they beat Baylor, right? They lost to Colorado. As we talked about with Baylor, Colorado, Cincinnati, those are kind of the teams that I think can maybe get a result against one of those C tier, maybe that B tier team in UCF. But yeah, I lost a lot of respect for TCU this year. I think TCU should be a lot better than what they're playing at. And it seems as though we're trending towards putting them in the D tier here and saying that they are maybe the class of the D tier.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I really do believe that they have the talent of a C-tier team. I believe they have the coaching of a C-tier team.
D for Jamie Dixon.
Indeed, unfortunately. But their resume is that of a D-tier team. Any team with a pulse in this conference they have played, they have lost.
I mean, some without.
Yeah, some without, man. You lose to Utah by 3. You lose to Colorado by 16. You only lose to Houston by 9. But, yeah, man, I think TCU has lost their privileges. They've lost their privileges of being in the C tier. We're moving them down to the D tier right now. And look, that means we only got one team left. And I think you know where this team is going. It is BYU. Welcome back to the BYU B tier.
Where you belong, gentlemen.
Exactly. Yeah, BYU in the B tier. They still have time to prove they're an A tier team, but it's not trending in that direction right now, Damon.
This is our complete list here, Kevin.
It is. This is our complete list. Arizona in the S tier, Houston and Kansas just behind them. And then in the A tier, you got Iowa State and Texas Tech. In the B tier, you got BYU tier and UCF. And then in the C tier, it's West Virginia and Oklahoma State. And in the D tier, it is packed this week, Damon. TCU, I was going to say Baylor. TCU, Baylor, Colorado, Cincinnati, Arizona State, Utah, Kansas State. Whew, that's a lot of work, man.
Do you think that there's that many D-tier teams in part because there's so many really good teams in this conference that it just leads – those teams just almost have no shot against the teams that they're playing half the time on their schedule? Or Like, do you just think that the Big 12 maybe is very kind of black or white this year? You're either bad or you're really good.
I feel like every week recently we've been kind of coming to this conclusion of like, is the Big 12 worse than we thought, or are some of the teams at the top better than we thought, and it makes the bottom teams look really bad? I still hold true to the idea that if you put like, I don't know, let's throw back up the list real quick. If you put like, let's say UCF in the ACC, where do they finish?
Top 5.
All right. If you put BYU in the SEC, where do they finish?
They're competing for the conference championship, wouldn't you say?
Right. So these are our like pretty good but decent teams on our list of the Big 12. I think even if you put like Arizona State in like the ACC, they're not competing, don't get me wrong, but they're not the dumpster fire that they are right now. They have,
Bobby teams in the Pac-12 were middle of the road.
Right? So I think this conference is just a murderer's row, man. Like, look at Arizona's upcoming schedule. If Arizona loses, knocking on wood, if Arizona loses like 3 or 4 of these games, I'm sure we might move them down to the A tier based off of power ranking performance, right? You cannot lose all these games and remain where you are. But would that mean that they're no longer like a great squad? I don't think so. So I think the Big 12 is just an absolute like killer's conference, right? Like, I mean, if we look at the list one more time, Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, I'll throw in BYU. That is 6 teams that if, you simulate the NCAA tournament 105 times, all those teams could make the Final Four and nobody would be shocked. Yeah. Maybe some people will be surprised at BYU's defense making it that far, right? Whatever. But they got like the number 1 or number 2 pick on their team. They got one of the best shooters in the country that can drop 30 on you. They got one of the best, highest paid, I should say, point guards in the country, and Rob Wright, and Kevin Young as well. So this conference is absolutely insane. Even some of the lesser teams in this conference have really good coaches. So it's tough. We'll never know for sure, I guess, because there's no way to do in this other conference, this team is actually pretty good, right? There's no way to know for sure. But I have an inclination that the Big 12 is just a killer's conference, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you as well. But it definitely makes for kind of an interesting, just topic of discussion because you never really know. I mean, it could be a lot of beating up on some dross, some bad teams that just don't really belong in the conference. But I tend to agree with you. Is a lot of these teams, I think if they were in inferior conferences, would be putting up performances that were at least a lot more respectable than what they're doing right now in the Big 12, given that they have to play against such elite competition like you outlined, Kevin. But that's our Big 12 tier ranking for the week here, as the BYU tier stays the BYU tier. Iowa State fans, this is their least favorite podcast in America. And Kansas makes its way into the S tier along with Houston and Arizona. Solid little list there from me and my guy, Kevin Thomas. Of course, that's going to do it for us today on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Oh, wait, real quick, before we get out of here, we would be remiss to mention Tony Pluta.
I was actually going to transition into that real quick.
My bad. I thought you were just getting your outro game on.
Keeping me honest right there, and I appreciate that, Kevin. Yes, bad news on the side of Arizona baseball as preseason first team All-American, according to essentially every single list that you'll look up. D1 baseball, you name it. Tony Pluta was the first team closer relief pitcher going into the season, given the fact that he was stopper of the year last year and had such a phenomenal season with a sub-2 ERA. UCL tear, Tommy John surgery, out for the year. Big blow to what Arizona baseball is going to be able to do here in 2026, considering that, I think that the offense was expected and is expected to take a step back this season without guys like Brendan Summerhill, Mason White, but you bring back a lot of your pitching. You bring back the Kramkowskis, the Baileys, and Pluta, which was massive. And you thought that, what you were going to lean on, I think, as a baseball program was that pitching staff, having potentially the best top to bottom pitching staff in college baseball. And yeah, this is a massive blow to that department there. So we wish Tony Pluta the best in his recovery. Don't know what this means for his collegiate career, if he's going to, just decide to call it an end to college and, pursue professional ranks or if he'll seek that medical red shirt and maybe try to come back for next season. We'll see. But yeah, that's a tough one, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a brutal one. I remember you and I doing podcasts about last year's baseball team and during the beginning of the offseason talking about like, well, at least you get the big announcement that Tony Pluta's coming back because of XYZ and everything that he brings to the table from a stuff standpoint. I love that positive thing out of all this. A little side note here. I love that baseball, you can just say he's got great stuff and everybody knows what you're talking about. Like if I'm like, Peat, he's got great stuff. People are like, what is this guy on about?
Yeah, what the hell does he mean by that?
But Tony Pluta legit has good stuff, right? And I think it is what makes him such a high-level college closer. It's not quite what got him any MLB love, right? Because it's not quite MLB-level stuff yet. But losing some of the highest-level college closing talent out there available is not good, straight up, for Arizona. It's not good, especially when you're managing that pitching staff as well, like at the actual staff level of it. And now you have personnel issues on that side as well. So we'll hopefully sort everything out. But yeah, get well soon, Tony Padilla. No, don't get well soon. Actually, if he fell ill, never mind. But Tony Pluta, get well soon. Tony Padilla, stay the hell away from my podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm like twitching out right now. Like,
dude, we've been talking a lot of Padilla recently, dude. I'm not going to lie. Like,
is he like are you getting paid underneath the table
to talk crap on him?
No, for a little bit of pro Padilla content, or like what's going on?
I wouldn't be doing my job if I was doing pro Padilla content.
I don't know what you just slipped in right there was. Get well soon.
I mean, he's sick. He's sick in the head.
We're thinking about you, TP.
He's sick in the head.
That's what Kevin Thomas is throwing his way.
Man, I mean, look, Real Pigeon says it here. Can I sacrifice Tony Padilla to save Tony Pluta? I mean, could we?
That's a discussion.
But as you know, Damon,
for another podcast.
Just so we're clear, no positive Tony Padilla PR coming out of me.
Okay.
None.
Well, I mean, your words and actions display otherwise.
But if he wanted to send me some of that mob money he's clearly getting, then hey, cash the checks. Cash the checks.
Kevin just got to make clear, not a Tony Padilla man.
Yeah, but if I ever start changing my takes on Tony Padilla, you know exactly what happened. You know what I mean? A little bit of that mob money
came Kevin's way. Is what happened.
Yes, indeed. Let's get out of here before I incriminate myself further.
Absolutely. We would hate to see that happen. Everybody, if you guys are Kevin and Damon people, like this video, subscribe to the channel, do so on your favorite podcasting platform. Become a part of the over 50,000 subscribers we have here on PHNX Sports YouTube. And we are so grateful to each and every one of you that have helped make that happen. Just yesterday, reaching that threshold means so much to me and Kevin and all the rest of the people here who work at PHNX Sports. Just the little podcasting company that could, Kevin. We got about 20 people. I know it feels sometimes a little bit bigger than that, but it's a little small rinky-dink operation. We love doing this, and we love having a good time. And we can't do it without the fans here in Arizona and just really all across the country that love their Arizona sports teams. So please drop a like on this video. Continue to support this podcast, all the other podcasts here on PHNX Sports, and we will catch you on a Thursday episode of the AZ Wildcats podcast as Kevin and I are off tomorrow, back Thursday and Friday at 2 p.m. And then, of course, pregame and postgame for the Arizona-Texas Tech game on Saturday, of course, where Kevin will be boots on the ground in the building at the McHale Center, cheering on his Wildcats. Not actually, because he's going to be with a credential, so he's got to keep it
very professional.
Very professional.
But you won't even know I cared about the game of basketball the way I watch it.
Kevin's doing internal fist bumps in his head when good Arizona things are happening in that one. But we'll keep you locked and loaded with the premier Arizona Wildcats coverage all throughout the rest of the week. In the meantime, be on the lookout for our tier maker, kind of shortened video to come out tomorrow if you want to rewatch that or if you missed part of it. And then, like I said, Thursday, Friday, 2 p.m. shows, Saturday, pregame, postgame. Can't wait for it. For Damon, for Kevin, we appreciate everybody. And for everyone here at PHNX Sports, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats. Get well soon, Tony Pluta.
We all silly like the mayor.